All right, let's get started. I trust that you can hear me in the back of the room, all right? Yeah, okay, then I won't use the microphone. Right, I'm here to talk to you about what we're doing with the cloud. If you were in the previous session that was in this room, you have heard Oracle tell about their cloud. There will be a little bit of overlap between what I'm going to tell you and what Oracle told you. But what I'm going to tell you is really from the perspective of VMS software. So what I want to talk to you about today is, first of all, how our interest in our involvement as VMS software in the cloud has developed since the company started. Then I want to talk to you about the reasons we have for choosing the Oracle Cloud. We want to talk to you about the proof of concept that we're currently doing, and then some futures. So let's begin with VSI's interest in the cloud. And when we started the company and when we started the port to x86, we were very much aiming to run OpenVMS on physical hardware. And we had sort of virtual machines and running in the cloud in the back of our minds as possible additional ways to run OpenVMS once we were on x86. Then around the time that we actually managed to release the first version of OpenVMS for x86, our thinking had already changed, because we had gone from we're going to run on bare metal and then see if we can also do hypervisors to we're going to run on hypervisors and we're going to run on virtual machines. And so that decision led to increased thinking about running on the cloud, of course, because the step from running on a virtual machine to running in the cloud is a lot smaller than the step from running on physical hardware to running in the cloud. So as soon as we told customers, hey, you can go out and run OpenVMS on an x86 virtual machine, immediately customers started coming back to us and saying, great, when can we take it to the cloud? Not all of our customers, but certainly a sizable portion of that. I don't know if Jan wants to put a percentage figure on that, but he told me one time that the cloud came up in more of these conversations than it did not come up. So more than 50% of all the conversations Jan had with customers, sometime or later, sooner or later, it turned to, can we go to the cloud at some point? And customers were telling us that their companies have a cloud-first strategy, which means that anytime they want to upgrade something or deploy something, they're going to look, can we run it in the cloud first? And only if that's really impossible, then we're going to run it on premises. And then for a few customers, even that conversation started shifting a little bit further to almost going from asking for it to demanding it. We had customers who were telling us we are moving from a cloud-first strategy to a cloud-only strategy. And you have to really do your homework if you want to run anything on-prem, because our company policy is that everything has to run in the cloud. So now, today, we are working with Oracle and CDL on a proof of concept of what it means to run OpenVMS in the cloud. And I'll talk about that in more details later. But you can see how we've moved as a company from, yes, the cloud is somewhere on the horizon, to where we are now actively working and getting very close to making that a reality. So one of the things that intrigued me when I was talking to Jan about what our customers were asking for in relation to cloud was this shift going from cloud, maybe cloud, to cloud first to cloud only. So I looked up some data, and there's a company called Flexera who do market research, and they issue a state of the cloud report every year. And I looked at their report, and I looked at their reports going back a few years, and I found these slides that basically, for different kinds of customer data, indicate how many companies have their data and their applications on premises or in the cloud, or what their approach is to where they put data. And if you look at these numbers and you compare them over the years, you see a downward shift where 10 years ago, a lot more companies were saying everything stays on premises. That's gone from like 27% to something like 10% now. And customers, so a lot of the customers who said where everything stays on premises have moved to, we have a mix of on-prem and in the cloud. And a lot of the companies who were like, we will remove most loads or most data and applications to the cloud, to we move everything to the cloud, that's also a shift that has happened. So we see these numbers in the bottom row increasing and the numbers in the upper rows decreasing slowly. So the conversations that we have had with our customers actually match the trends that are going on in the market. Another question that they asked are the top metrics for assessing progress against cloud goals. And I'm sort of taking this as a surrogate for the question, what drives you to go to the cloud? And then you see that like the top response is to decrease cost efficiency and savings. And second, delivery speed of new products and services. So this is something that maybe if you look at like, I've got a big data center and I'm running all my applications there. And I'm going to take one of these applications and I'm going to move it into the cloud. Will you immediately see a lot of cost savings there? I don't know, but I think chances are that maybe you won't. But if you take your entire data center and move all your applications into the cloud, now you no longer have to maintain your data center. You can free up that floor space. You don't have to maintain the security. You don't have to worry about your backups anymore. So going to like taking everything to the cloud in a lot of cases makes sense, because this really works when you've got that economy of scale moving stuff into the cloud. So this is sort of like us trying to understand the market around cloud and trying to understand what it is that causes our customers to ask us, can we go to the cloud? Because if we understand that better, then we can also better tailor our solutions to those customers so that they actually get what they need. So when we started looking at which cloud provider are we going to use for this proof of concept, we ended up with Oracle OCI. And that may be a bit of a surprising choice if you look at like how many customers these different cloud providers have. So the same company like asked all the respondents in their surveys what cloud providers they're currently using. And as you can see, the top two are AWS and Azure. And the way this works is like the blue bar are companies that say, yes, we run significant workloads in that clouds, in that provider's cloud. The purple is they're running some workloads, and then this is experimenting and planning to use that provider. So if you look at it that way, then AWS and Azure are clearly ahead, and then followed by Google Cloud. And then Oracle Cloud Infrastructure is in fourth place. I mean, it's still a very sizable business, of course, but it's not as big as AWS and Azure. So what are the reasons that we decided to go with OCI? One of the things, though, that this tells me, the fact that there's a lot of experimentation going on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, is that there's a lot of growth potential for Oracle there. A lot of companies may not be running significant workloads in Oracle Cloud yet, but they're certainly looking at what it would take to run there. So I've defined 4 main reasons for us why we chose to go with Oracle Cloud. And the first is that we have an established relationship with Oracle. And I don't know about all of you, but when I started in VMS initially, I started as a systems manager on a VMS system, and it ran Oracle RDB and it ran Oracle 8173, I think it was. It's been a while. But a lot of our customers have the same kind of relationship with Oracle, where they run Oracle products on their VMS systems. And as a result of that, and we have like very frequent contact with Kevin and his team, but when we approached Oracle to talk about the cloud, we had a way in. And it was we could have conversations with Oracle that we could not have with any of the other major cloud providers, because to Amazon or Microsoft, VMS is not a big market segment, and we would have to work really hard to get their attention talking about a cloud solution. With Oracle, it was much easier to get there. The second reason is that we believe that there's a pretty good technology match. Other clouds are based on Zen or Hyper-V hypervisors, and Oracle, turns out, it's based on KVM. And KVM is one of the hypervisors that we already run on with VMS. So that means that OpenVMS on OCI is probably a lot simpler to accomplish than on any of these other hyperscalers. The third reason is, and if this is going to sound like an advertisement for Oracle, little disclaimer, we're not getting paid to say any of this, and I don't own any Oracle stock or options. This is just what we found when we started looking and doing the research. But the Oracle kind of has an advantage because they were a little late to the cloud game. And that is that they could learn from all the things that didn't quite work out in the other big clouds. And when it comes to security, where other clouds have to take some stopgap measures to beef up their security because they have an installed base that cannot easily like move to a completely different architecture, Oracle was able to design their cloud from the ground up, learning a lot of lessons from how other hypervisor or other hyperscalers did it and where that could be improved. So there's things like the separating all the hypervisor management capability from the actual platform that the virtual machines runs on. And that means that there's much less of a layer underneath the virtual machine than in other clouds. That in turn means that that's much less of an attack surface for someone who wants to break into the hypervisor to basically gain access to other customer systems that may be running in the same cloud and may have ended up on the same hardware. So and then finally, looking at cost considerations, Oracle has a pretty attractive way of doing this. You buy some credits and you basically use them for anything you want. And in a lot of cases, what you'll find is that the things that you want are cheaper on OCI than they are on many of the other clouds. And for some of the things that we looked at, we found that they were sometimes an order of magnitude cheaper on OCI, particularly when you talk about like data egress rates, but also the fact that on Oracle, if you have a CPU in your system, you don't get charged for the time when that CPU isn't busy. You only get charged for the actual CPU cycles you consume. So if you've configured your system with two CPUs and you're only using half of one all of the time, you only get charged for half a CPU, which is certainly when you're in the experimentation phase and not really running any big workloads yet, that's certainly very attractive. The difference may become a little bit less if you're really pushing a workload onto that system, but it's still, to us, that was a very attractive thing. Of course, there's one other reason why Oracle is what was the platform of choice, and that's of course the fact that Oracle was founded in 1977. And we all know that 1977 was a great year for announcing operating systems and founding companies, but also for being born. So just to dive a little bit deeper into the technology match. It's one thing to say it's built on KVM. But you really, as an engineer, I want to see that. So I created a virtual machine running Oracle Linux 9 on OCI. And I asked virtwhat, which is the command that basically tells you this is the hypervisor you're running. And indeed, it tells me I'm running on KVM. So then I did an LSPCI, which tells me what all of the PCI controllers in the system are. And as you can see, there's a VirtIO network device and there's a VirtIO SCSI device. And we have drivers for both those devices in OpenVMS version 9.2-3, which is going to be released in December. So this tells me that there's a pretty good chance that we can run OpenVMS 9.2.3 natively on this machine. Or on this VM that runs in the cloud. The other thing I want to zoom in on a bit is their focus on security. And so there's a few aspects to that. One is the off-box virtualization, which I already talked a bit about. Like the other thing that extends to is having the network virtualization, where you decide which networks can this system connect to. That's been moved offsite. So it's not that you could, even if you could gain access to the hypervisor, you can only still get onto the network that's actually been assigned to your virtual machine. You cannot go outside of that because you cannot see it. The other thing is that both network and storage are encrypted end-to-end. And you can even supply your own encryption keys to do that, so that you are like doubly certain that Oracle doesn't get to see what your data is. Then one of the things, and this is, I thought this was interesting. You have to, if you bring up a box, there's pretty much no connectivity at all. And you really have to think about what kind of network connections do I want to permit? And you need to enable those, rather than the opposite, where everything is wide open. You bring up a box, and before you've managed to clamp down on your networking security, the first hacker has already found its way into your box. Hopefully you had a strong password. And then finally, one of the things that impressed me is there's just a lot of compliance frameworks where Oracle has attestations for their entire infrastructure, and they have advisories for customers on how to utilize that to make their solutions on Oracle Cloud compliant. So it's not like if you say you need to be HIPAA compliant. It's not simply a matter of taking your application and putting it on Oracle Cloud and now it's HIPAA compliant. You still need to do the work that you would otherwise have to do in your application to be HIPAA compliant. But the Oracle Cloud infrastructure has the attestations that you need to basically prove that the infrastructure underneath your application is not something that adds additional risk. And they have that for, I think it's something like 80 different compliance frameworks. So almost, it's like whatever industry you're in, it's almost certainly that Oracle has or can provide the attestations for the regulations that you need to comply with. So this is probably the end of the advertisement for Oracle. So to go back to the question, are these reasons that we have picked to go with Oracle Cloud, are they the right reasons? We again looked at the market research and looked at what companies see as the top challenges in going to the cloud. And number one is managing cloud spend. And I can attest to that. A few weeks ago in our Oracle Cloud tenancy on one of the servers, we changed the simple little slider that said capacity reservation. And where we had been spending maybe $3 or $4 a day on Oracle Cloud, and I see someone laughing in the room. we all of a sudden we were spending I think it's something like $80 a day, and it wasn't like it was going to bankrupt the company, but we're like, hey, what's going on? And you can actually then drill down into your cost and see exactly where that cost is coming from. And we looked at that virtual machine. We put the slider back off, and then the spending went down again. But this is something that companies struggle with. They take their application to the cloud. They have certain expectations of what it's going to cost to run there, and they turn to be completely off base after they've run there for a few months and they realize that there's something going on here. And this is so just the simple fact that spending on Oracle is probably a bit lower than on other clouds, and that it's a little bit more manageable, and that you can really drill down and find out where your cost is coming from. That's probably going to help. And then the second one is security. So I think that sort of meshes with like the VMS customer base who tend to be pretty security conscious. So I want to talk about the if there are any questions so far. Anyone? In that case, I'll move on to the proof of concept that we're involved in. So we're doing a proof of concept with 3 partners. And we've got Oracle, we've got VMS software, and we've got CDL. And I'll go to the next slide first. I'll tell you a little bit about who OCL are, or who CDL are, and then I'll come back to that slide. So CDL is basically a service provider to the insurance company, and Duncan is here to correct me if what I say is wrong. And CDL has adopted a cloud-only strategy. And they have one application called CDL Classic, which is the only application they now have that still requires them to maintain an on-prem data center. And the reason for that is that CDL Classic runs on OpenVMS, and CDL has no wishes to move away from OpenVMS, and we're very happy with that, of course. So CDL Classic is a pretty much a self-contained application. It's got a lot of connections to the outside world, gathering data and interfaces for CDL's customers to use the application, but there's very little dependencies on any third-party software. So this is actually an application that has already been ported to x86. So that makes that application a perfect candidate for a POC. What makes CDL an even better candidate of a company to do a POC with is that they have retained and maintained their knowledge of VMS. They have a very knowledgeable team who know what they're doing, who know how VMS works. They ported the application to x86 themselves. So this is a great partner for us to work with. And they are a partner who, because of their cloud-only strategy, already have a lot of experience in taking applications to the cloud. So if there's anything that we're doing or that we are doing on Oracle Cloud that is like cumbersome compared to other clouds, they'll probably tell us. So there's some good comparisons there. So going back to the partners, I mean, you all know Oracle and you all know VMS software, so I don't think I need to have a separate slide for those. But I wanted to, and I probably should have separated this a little bit more, but I wanted to indicate what each partner brings to the table and what each partner gets out of this. So in the case of Oracle, what Oracle brings to the table is the cloud technology, and they provide us with guidance on how to better use that and how to implement that. So if we run into issues, we go to Oracle for guidance. What Oracle hopefully gets out of this POC is gaining a foothold with companies who run OpenVMS, but who are not Oracle Cloud customers. So this gives Oracle a way in with those customers. What VMS software brings to the table is we design the architecture and we implement this cloud-based version of the application. And then what we're hoping to gain from this is just a whole lot of experience with the cloud. And that will enable us to then start offering cloud services to our customers. And then finally, CDL, what they bring to the table, of course, is they have a set of requirements. They can do all the testing to make sure that their application performs the way it needs to do after we've moved it into the cloud. And what they get out of it is they get to deliver on their cloud-only strategy and look good to their managers. I guess that's pretty much what it's all about, right?
Absolutely, Camiel. I mean, our management is severely cloud-only strategy.
Right.
And would actually love to throw VMS out. But we have a lot of clients who continue to run our software on Itanians, and we support them all from our head office.
Right.
And of course, to support them, we have to maintain, at the moment, Itanians.
Yeah.
And we are caught between a rock and a hard place,
right,
between different strategies, because the clients that have remained VMS are very happy and they want to remain on CDL Classic.
Right.
The ones that could move to CDL's all singing, all dancing cloud-based solution are, well, they're waiting nearly 20 years for it, but it's mainly there now. But some of the clients have seen this and they're adamant they're not moving.
Right.
Even ones who are winding down business, they want to maintain their VMS systems for at least 7 years, all various financial compliance regulations.
Right.
So we've got to get VMS in the cloud.
Right. So yeah, this actually meshes in with one of the things we hear from a lot of customers. VMS in a lot of companies, sort of, it's better to stay under the radar, because if you pop up on your manager's screens as, hey, this is a big problem, because, well, it's the only thing that's preventing us from shutting down our data center and having everything in the cloud. If we can sort of scale down the urgency from moving off VMS, then that's a bit of a win. So I want to show you who's involved in this proof of concept from the VMS side. And if you look at the names on this sheet, you may see that this is kind of like a who's who of VMS software. Rafael Martins, who's our head of professional services, he's personally involved as the project manager on this project. I'm taking care of some of the system architecture stuff. If there's anything that involves the application, we bring in Brad Cameron. And then we've got like very good VMS engineers. We've got engineers who are learning Linux and OCI as part of this because we want to capture that knowledge and make it our own. And then from an account management perspective, we also got our top people on this. So this is not that this is how we would do any cloud project, but because this is a pilot and because we see going to the cloud as something that is critical for the success of our company, we've made this a pretty heavily staffed project just to underscore how serious we take this. So we currently, there's still some challenges, and if there weren't any challenges in a POC like this, then we wouldn't have to do it because we wouldn't learn anything from it. So main challenges, technical challenge, the main one is around network connectivity and security. And this kind of stems from us being sort of newbies when it comes to running in the cloud. We just need to figure out, we needed to figure out how to configure things, and we're figuring this out, and we're getting the network connectivity that we need going, opening up all those different routes. So this is what we're tackling. Then we need to, once we've got it technically running, we need to figure out how we're going to, what our pricing model is going to look like, because right now we're still only running some test loads. We're not really running anything that looks like production loads in the cloud. So exactly what this will look like, to be honest, we don't really know yet. And it doesn't matter, because if we cannot get this done technically first, then there's no point in worrying about how are we going to put a price tag on this. So, well, like I said, it sort of boils down to us being newbies in this cloud world. So any questions about the POC that we're doing? Yeah.
So is one of the challenges that you mentioned earlier that Oracle has gone through great strides to isolate the machines, and we're trying to make clusters. I assume, Duncan, that we might be talking clustering.
No, we're not.
Okay, these are all standalones.
These are standalones.
Okay,
yeah.
so that was one of the things was being able to do, like, do they work in a pool at least, like a load balance thing, or it's just literally individual servers that people connect to?
The clients generally have sized individual containers to their requirement. So we go from people with a single core 2660 to 64K core BL890. So it varies.
Yeah, but one of the advantages of virtualization is the ability to flux the load versus the actual hosting. You mentioned, I guess Oracle is only charging you for the cycles you use, but VMS doesn't have the way to, I mean, you used to have, what do they call it, instant capacity or whatever, right? To add and take away CPUs, which was no fun.
Well, adding them was fun. Taking away, maybe not.
To properly size these machines and act like traditional VMs that are out there.
It's not, that's not an issue we're trying to tackle as part of this POC. That's something that we do see on the horizon, but not as part of what we're trying to do here.
But another phase of the POC would be clustering or something, a different customer or whatever, yeah.
Yes, probably, yeah.
Yeah, we, in-house, we have a development to support cluster, which is mixed titanium and x86. Used to have an alpha in it, but management found that.
There's gonna be no more in-house, it's all good.
Right, and of course to do proper clustering with VMS, you need like shared storage. You don't want to do that through MSCP. And running, it works nicely until, of course, the host that is directly connected to the storage goes down. So to properly and in the cloud, of course, using fiber channel in the cloud is not an option. So we're working on a solution for that, but I'll talk more about that in my session tomorrow morning. So anything else? Any questions so far? So I just want to briefly touch on some of the things that we still need to do or that we may do in the future. So once we've completed this POC, we're hoping that we can add OCI and Oracle Linux to sort of like an officially list of supported platforms. We don't actually have a list like that for x86 now. We only have a list of platforms that we've tested on, but we're working on creating a list of supported platforms, and we really want OCI and Oracle Linux to be on that list. Another thing that as a result, and when we do that, this means that we should also be able to help other customers who want to move to Oracle Cloud. And it could be that some customers just want to do that on their own, engage with Oracle to get a cloud tenancy and deploy their systems there themselves with some support from us. But we could also imagine that there are customers who would rather let us take care of that. So one of the things that we're envisioning is having like a VSI cloud powered by Oracle Cloud. And then within that model, you could have various levels of managed services. We could be just the provider of the VMS instance that you then fully manage yourself. But if companies wanted to and say, hey, my system manager has retired and it's really difficult to find anyone, then we could partner with customers to take over that part of their responsibility for managing the system, where we maintain the VMS system for them. And if user accounts need to be added, we do it. If the software needs to be updated, we do it. And the customer only is responsible for like further development of their application. And for some customers, we might even be able to do that for them. So if we have this kind of offering, it's really sort of like becomes flexible where the boundary between our responsibilities and customers' responsibilities are. And it's really up to the customer to what level they want to engage with us in a constellation like that. So this is something that as a result of this POC, we can hopefully make this a little bit more concrete and actually have an offering that people can use. One of the things right now we are running Oracle Linux, and then we're running that with KVM in Oracle Cloud so that we can have OpenVMS on top of that. The main reason for that is that we're running VMS version 9.2-2 for our POC, because 9.2.3 isn't out there yet. And sort of as a matter of principle, we don't want to run a non-production version of VMS for this POC. Unfortunately, 9.2.2 didn't have the support for the VirtIO devices that the Oracle Cloud natively uses. So we're not running natively on Oracle Cloud yet, but given like the compatibility of the KVM layer in Oracle Cloud, and the drivers that we have in OpenVMS in version 9.23, I think our next step is going to be to get OpenVMS to run natively on one of the shapes in Oracle Cloud. And then looking towards the future, talking about cluster support, we are planning to add iSCSI capability to OpenVMS. We're current planning is to have that ready for production mid 2026. I mean, it's a serious development effort that's involved in that, and it would be really nice if I could tell you, yeah, we'll have that 3 months from now, but that's just not realistic. I mean, Mike here would kill me if I told you that, I think. But with that iSCSI support, iSCSI is a fiber channel-like storage protocol, except that instead of running on dedicated fiber channel hardware, it runs on top of TCP/IP. So you can use any network connection. I wouldn't use it on a 10 megabit NIC. I would prefer running it on at least a 1 gigabit, but preferably like a 10 gigabit NIC. But then you can get like the fully shared storage in a VMS cluster without any dependency on specific hardware, just running over normal network connections. And that makes it possible to run that in the cloud as well, where you cannot expect the cloud vendor to put special hardware into their machines and make that available to your VMs, but you can expect them to support like standard network protocols. So this is what I prepared for this session. If there are any questions, you can ask them now, or if a question later pops up, you can always send me an email. Are there any questions now? Yeah.
What didn't work yet? You said it's not in production yet.
We're still working to we've basically just tackled the whole issue around network connectivity. So we're now getting ready to like put the application on there, and there's just we still need to go through acceptance testing and all that after that. So before we can say yes, this runs in production, we'll be a little bit further, but we were worrying about meeting our schedule for a while, but I think we've made the progress that we're no longer worried about that now.
We're expecting from our point of view that as soon as Camiel hands us the VM with our data, the backup save sets are already there. We would expect to be up and running within the day.
What's the range?
You don't want to know. A homegrown Manchester University variation on file tab D, which is itself built on C++ and C. That was fun, Paul.
Yeah.
What is the level of completion? Is it just to run in a virtual machine and that's it? Or you want to do some cloud native automatizations like Terraform and building them automatically, building the whole cluster automatically?
Eventually, yes. I mean, for now, we're just like by hand figuring out what works and what doesn't work. Once we have that recipe, we want to end up in a situation where we can bring up a cloud customer with a few mouse clicks, basically. And I mean, there's always going to be taking a VMS system and putting it on some new infrastructure is never as straightforward as that. But the infrastructure part of it can be, we believe. Right. So thanks for being here, and I'll let you go so you can have a yeah. You have about 12 minutes to grab a quick cup of coffee or tea before the next session. Thanks.